Hello everyone, my name is Jimmy and welcome back to the channel. In today's episode of Rippin' the Fence, we're going to be taking a look at everything, and I mean everything, that happened from Richmond Raceway over the past weekend. A lot of stuff happened, but before we hop into the video, I just want to quickly remind you guys, hit that like button and subscribe button. We would greatly appreciate it if you guys did that. But let's hop into the video. Matthew, my friend and co-host, is joining me as always, and we were able to experience this crazy race at Richmond together. It was his birthday on Sunday on race day, so glad we were able to spend the day together. As you can see, we both got some new swag on. I bought this Chase Elliott Pit Crew shirt from this Castor brand, or however you pronounce it. It's like the official brand that all the teams are wearing. And Matthew got a new Carson Quaffle shirt and a hat, and I got him the Carson Quaffle shirt for his birthday. So glad we were able to spend his birthday together at the racetrack. But man, we have a lot to talk about. So Matthew, how are you feeling real quick before we go and hop into everything?
Well, what an amazing weekend it was celebrating my birthday at Richmond. Got, I think, the most autographs I think I've ever gotten in one race weekend. um, I mean, you'll see that when the vlog comes out, hopefully sometime soon as Jimmy can keep cooking that in the lab. But yeah, it was an amazing weekend to celebrate. Got to witness another crazy moment. Another crazy finish, which I never thought we would see at Richmond, but here we are. So yeah, let's get right into it.
Yeah, just to show you guys a quick little preview of what's going to be in the vlog. There's a lot of hero cards right here, and then this program right here has a lot of autographs in it too. So you guys will see how we did all of that in the vlog. Hopefully that'll be up by the end of this week. I'll link it for you guys in the description or at the end of the video once it does get uploaded. So a lot of stuff in that you guys are going to want to see. But as for the race at Richmond, I'm going to quickly set the scene for you guys, even though probably a lot of you already know how everything went down. We are recording this on Wednesday after all the penalties were announced and all that, so we'll get to that a little bit later in the video too. But at Richmond in Stage 3, Austin Dillon had one of, if not the fastest race cars. He ends up passing Denny Hamlin for the lead late in Stage 3, and a caution comes out with 2 laps to go for none other than Ricky Spinhouse Jr., taking out Ryan Preece in turn 1, right in front of the leader, by the way. And it looked like Austin Dillon was just going to ride off into the sunset, win the race, upset the playoff grid, win the race naturally, I guess, or fair, quote unquote, because he just checked out. He was gone. But nope, caution comes out. Everybody comes down pit road, takes tires. Austin Dillon wins the race off of pit road over Joey Logano and Denny Hamlin. On the restart, Joey Logano actually gets ahead of Austin Dillon off of turn 2 down the backstretch. Logano continues to lead all the way around down the backstretch. On the final lap, he has about a 3 to 4 car length lead. Going into turn 3, Austin Dillon absolutely sends it into the corner, makes contact with Joey Logano in the right rear, spins Joey Logano around. Austin Dillon, he's trying to come down to avoid the crash. Him and Denny Hamlin make contact. Denny Hamlin goes into the wall, and Austin Dillon is able to somehow keep his car straight and not get to the finish line first because a caution came out, but he was ahead at the time of caution. So Austin Dillon won the race. And at that moment, everybody thought that he was going to punch his ticket to the playoffs. Obviously, Wednesday, that has now changed, but we'll get into that a little bit later. Gosh, I don't even know where to start with this whole incident. So Joey Logano, after the race, he comes down pit road, very frustrated. He revs his engine and tries to do some burnouts on the pit lane. That's obviously unacceptable. He got a fine for that. We'll talk about in a little bit. But I'm just going to go take this from my perspective as a race fan. It seems like there's really 2 different perspectives or 2 different incidents we have to look at here. The first one is the contact between Austin Dillon and Joey Logano, and then the contact between Austin Dillon and Denny Hamlin. And the Austin Dillon and Joey Logano contact, I'm kind of torn between, because I don't necessarily have a problem with that, even though Austin Dillon did drive it in like 4 car lengths too deep and take out Joey Logano. I mean, we've seen people spin each other for the win several times. I have a few written down right here, and there's even more that I don't have written down. But We look at Joey Logano and William Byron at Darlington. Byron and Logano, they had a little bit of contact late in the race, and then Logano just sends it in and bumps William Byron out of the way. William Byron didn't wreck, but he hit the wall and probably damaged a toe link, and that prevented him from getting a good finish. Joey Logano and Matt Kenseth at Kansas. Logano just kind of drove into the corner and wiped Matt Kenseth out there. Alex Bowman and Denny Hamlin at Martinsville. Alex Bowman spun Denny Hamlin out late in the race there to win. And then also at Martinsville, Denny Hamlin and Chase Elliott. We know what happened there. Denny Hamlin got in the back of Chase Elliott and spun him out there. And yeah, like I said, I don't necessarily have a problem with this incident. But the other one is where a lot of people throughout the week on different podcasts and different media platforms were calling for some type of penalty to come out over this. And it's the Austin Dillon and Denny Hamlin contact off of turn 4. And honestly, I'm surprised NASCAR made the call that they did, because the best video I see, like from the front stretch past the start-finish line looking at turn 4, it does look like Denny Hamlin comes up the racetrack and him and Austin Dillon make contact. But SMT data, on the other hand, shows that Austin Dillon turned his wheel to the left. On Denny Hamlin's podcast, he claims that he turned the wheel to the left 70 degrees, which is more than double for what you would normally turn the wheel for a corner. And then there's also some spotter audio as well that has been leaked. There's 3 different ones that I have seen on social media. The first one was the spotter saying, "Do what you have to do," down the backstretch going into turn 3. And then the spotter is yelling, "Wreck him, wreck him, wreck him," in turn 4. And then apparently his spotter said to Denny's spotter, or someone's spotter, he said, "That's on me, I told him to wreck him." So there's 3 other examples right there of what happened between Austin Dillon and Denny Hamlin. And like I said, the video that I see, it looks like Denny Hamlin just comes up into him. But I believe what happened is once they made contact, Austin Dillon yanked his wheel to the left to get away from Denny, because if he held his wheel straight, they probably would have both went into the wall like that together, and they both would have went in the wall. So I think that might have been what happened. I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, those are the 2 different incidents, and this second one with Austin Dillon and Denny Hamlin, everybody's looking at the Chase Elliott Denny Hamlin incident where Chase right rear hooked Denny Hamlin, and then the Bubba Wallace and Kyle Larson thing where the same thing happened. So a lot of people were wondering what NASCAR would do in this situation, seeing a right rear hook happen on the front stretch. But NASCAR hasn't really seen anything like this, especially in the closing laps of a race on the final lap. We've seen a lot of crazy moves on the final lap happen before, where drivers are desperate to do different things. Like we saw Ryan Newman at Phoenix basically wipe out Kyle Larson for a playoff spot at Phoenix several years ago. And there haven't really been any penalties regarding this. So everybody was wondering what would happen. And what ended up happening today, as of Wednesday, is Austin Dillon. He is going to keep the race win, keep the purse, keep the trophy, all that stuff. But he is no longer playoff eligible. So this win will not lock Austin Dillon into the playoffs. There's also no suspension for Austin Dillon as well. And a lot of people, like I said, were comparing this to the Chase Elliott and Bubba Wallace incidents. And the big thing here is that this was not retaliation. And I kind of think that's why Chase Elliott and Bubba Wallace were suspended, because it was retaliation. And it was at a much larger track. That was at 1.5-mile racetracks. This is a short track. The cars aren't going as fast. Obviously, still a right rear hook into the wall is going to hurt and look pretty egregious. But no suspension for Austin Dillon. Austin Dillon also docked 25 driver and owner points. And his spotter is suspended for 3 races. And for the pit road incident, Joey Logano was fined $50,000. So I'm going to quickly go over all these different penalties and share my opinion on them. So the Austin Dillon one, I agree with pretty much 100%. I'm fine with him keeping the win, keeping the trophy, keeping the prize money, all that kind of stuff. I do like the fact that he is no longer playoff eligible, although I did listen to Jeff Gluck and Jordan Bianchi's emergency podcast, and Jordan Bianchi somewhat had a point where they definitely could have, like, not like let this go, quote unquote, but they could have, maybe fined Austin Dillon and docked him points, but said, hey, moving forward, if something like this happens again, we're going to take action and we're going to penalize it. Kind of like what they did for the Hail Melon attempt at Martinsville. But I do like this call of him no longer being playoff eligible. The 25 driver and earner points, that's whatever. I mean, 25 points, it is what it is. His spotter being suspended for 3 races, I feel like they didn't have to go as harsh on the spotter just because the spotter, obviously they're emotional and they're just going to say what they want to say. And Austin Dillon, he's in the race car. He's going to do what he has to do in the heat of the moment anyway. I could have seen this being maybe him being suspended for 1 race or maybe a fine or something like that. 3 races seems like a little bit much, but I do understand where they're coming from. And then Joey Logano being fined $50K. I think he needs a points penalty and even a playoff points penalty because driving down a hot pit road with family members and crew members on pit road after the race, doing burnouts and revving his engine several times, that's just unacceptable. And we've seen this happen 3 times, 3 penalties for this now in the past year and a half with Suarez, Bubba, and now Logano, and we keep seeing it happen. So I think NASCAR needs to take a bigger penalty for this in the future. They need to dock them. If they're in the playoffs, they need to take playoff points away or something, or fine them more and take playoff points away. I don't know. But that's just absolutely unacceptable. We should not be having this discussion about safety on pit road. And yes, I know people are saying that the fans and the crew members, they shouldn't be on a hot pit road anyway, but that doesn't excuse Joey Logano for doing what he did on pit road after the race. So that is the penalties. That is everything that happened with Austin Dillon, Joey Logano, Denny Hamlin. I think that's all I have to say, right? At least for right now. I want to hear what Matthew has to say about it, and maybe we'll go back and forth just a little bit. But Matthew, what do you have to say about everything that you saw, at least regarding the Austin Dillon incident, and then we can talk a little bit more about the race a little bit later.
So to start this off, being there at the race, of course, at the moment when the white flag went up and we saw what happened in the last 2 turns, at the moment, the heat of the moment, I thought it was awesome. Just being around the crowd, you could see the whole crowd was going nuts when Austin Dillon crossed the checkered flag. Everybody was cheering for him, and then when they were interviewing Logano, and everyone just started booing him so loudly, even though Logano didn't really do anything wrong, but it was still kind of funny. It kind of reminded me of hearing Hamlin's interview at Martinsville when he and Bowman had that issue a couple years ago. Being there at that race, everyone was going nuts. You couldn't even hear what Logano was saying because everyone was booing so loudly, and that was kind of awesome. So at the heat of the moment, it was awesome seeing that in person. But of course, after the adrenaline wears off, after you sleep on it, you gotta start thinking seriously now. And of course, thinking of it through, watching all the footage and all that. I mean, clearly Austin Dillon was in the fault here. Well, first and foremost, I do want to give Austin Dillon some credit here because I don't know what was going on at RCR this weekend, but for some reason, Austin Dillon's car was very fast. And I have no idea how. I don't know how Austin Dillon's car is that fast while Kyle was still a lap down pretty much the whole race. I don't know how. That still baffles me, but Austin Dillon had a very fast car this past weekend, and he for the first 399 laps of this race, he pretty much earned this win because, I mean, he was fast. He passed Hamlin for the lead towards the end, and he was about to pull off the biggest upset of the season, basically. And then, of course, the caution comes out. Yippee! And then he chokes on the restart, basically, and then, of course, the whole thing happens in turn 3 or 4. Of course, Austin Dillon, even though it was dumb, let's just say that it was dumb, I don't fault him because, in his eyes, this is the best car he's had all season long. He has no idea if he'll have another car like that again the next 4 races to go. And he views this as his only shot of getting into the playoffs. So, of course, he did everything that he could, and I don't blame him for it. I mean, I'm sure anybody else in that similar situation was in the same position, I'm sure they would do the same thing. But of course, there has to be boundaries, and clearly, clearly he basically, let's just say he went over the line. First and foremost, he bumped Logano, which of course that happens all the time. That's no problem. The problem is Austin Dillon is literally like 5 car lengths away. If it was like, a car length, I don't think anything would happen. But he's like 5 car lengths behind, and he just sends it in there with no shot at making the corner, just hoping it would hit Logano, and he was successful at it. And then the whole Hamlin thing was also a mess as well. I know you keep saying, Jimmy, that Hamlin went up, but after hearing Denny Hamlin on Accidental Mental, that's kind of the point here. When you're on the bottom at Richmond, your car is naturally going to come up. That's the natural line. And Denny Hamlin was just following his natural line. So, of course, the car is going to come up the track exiting 4. So, the whole point of Hamlin, he came up, that's not really a good excuse. He held his line, and Dillon's the one that turned real hard left and got into Hamlin. So, that's on Dillon at the end of the day. And then, of course, Joe Logano with the pit road thing. I understand Logano's frustrated. I mean, he just got dumped for the win. I mean, I completely understand, but still, there's people on the track, and I don't want to keep hearing about, oh, they need to stop letting people get on the pit road. They've been doing this all the time. And look back any race after the race. There's always people on pit road right after the race. Pit crew, family members, sponsor people, media people, NASCAR officials. They're always walking on pit road right after a race. So I don't understand why all of a sudden we're, blaming the people coming onto the track here. But still, I mean, it's unacceptable by Joe Logano, and I absolutely agree with the fine. I think the fine could have been a little bit bigger. I think I think the fine could have been a little bit bigger, to be honest. As far as if you were going to take points or anything, I don't think points should have been involved, just because it was after the race, not during the race. So I don't think points should have been a part of it. I think the fines just. It sends the message, and I think he got the message real clearly already when the official was real pissed at him after that whole scenario. And I think that's why Logano didn't even bother trying going after Dillon, because that official was chewing his butt out for that. And I think Logano knew that he kind of screwed up there when that was going on. So I agree with that. And as for the Austin Dillon penalties coming out today, I agree with every single little thing. I'm even shocked that NASCAR basically got rid of the playoff thing for him. I mean, I did not expect that, to be honest. I expected a fine, points, but basically taking the golden ticket away, I did not see that one coming. And I'm proud NASCAR did that, because clearly a line was crossed, and NASCAR needed to show a message that you just can't do that. And what greater message to send is by getting rid of the golden ticket to the playoffs. So anybody who needs to win is in a similar situation. They know that they just can't dive bomb in there and just take the guy out. Or you may keep the trophy, you may keep the money, but you're not going to get in the playoffs. So I think the way they handled that was perfect. Of course, There's some people saying why didn't he get suspended, and I agree that he shouldn't get suspended because I think the penalty is already sending the message enough. I don't think we need to suspend him on top of that. I think we're just be piling on too much if we're suspending him. Playoff taken away. Points. I think it's just been. I think the way they did is just fine. I mean, getting rid of the golden ticket basically is already a bad punishment already because when it comes to where you finish in the points every year in the season, it depends on how much it deters of how much money you get for the owners championship owners standings. So with his golden ticket getting taken away, he basically just lost RCR millions of dollars right there. He could have gotten at the end of the season. So I think that's already a big enough penalty. So I'm happy with how that went. Um, I mean, like I said beforehand, before all this happened, Austin Dillon ran the best race of his career, and then he made a couple bad judgments in the final two turns. So I mean, it's unfortunate, but he still gets the win. Um, Still gets the money, but he's just not in the playoffs now. Now RCR is appealing this as we're recording this, so we'll see how that goes. But I doubt RCR is gonna be able to win this, especially when NASCAR pulls out the SMT data. He basically got called 4K, so good luck, good luck trying to get that overturned. So yeah. But overall, amazing weekend in Richmond. A lot of fun, like I said. Oh, by the way, they ran different tires this weekend. Have we talked about that yet? I think we keep forgetting about this. The tires.
Yeah, the tires, they actually work really well. But really quick, I just want to reiterate some stuff that you said. So Denny Hamlin said that when Austin Dillon won and made it to the playoffs, that jump from like 32nd to 13th or 14th in points was like $2 million. I think he said, maybe even more than that. So, like you said, that is more than enough of a penalty for him. And I'm also glad NASCAR came down and dropped the hammer on this because, like, while they want to emphasize, like, do what it takes to win and all this drama regarding the new playoff system, the win and you're in system, I'm glad that they drew this line because it would show in the future, if they didn't do anything about this, that anybody could just go and just wreck whoever they want on the final lap and win the race, basically with no consequences. And then if somebody that got wrecked, like in this instance, like Joey Logano and Denny Hamlin, they can't retaliate because then they would get penalized for retaliating against something Austin Dillon did. So I'm glad that NASCAR made a decision here, made a penalty, and the only thing I'm a tiny bit worried about is uh, this is like this might hold the drivers back from being aggressive in the future. Um, so like the Logano and Byron incident at Darlington and stuff like that. I hope that the drivers like understand this line clearly and understand that they can still race aggressively and bump and move people out of the way, like at Martinsville or different racetracks around the schedule. So hopefully the drivers don't take this. Like obviously you want them to take it seriously, but you don't want them to take it to a point where they're afraid to make contact with people on the racetrack. And Eldon Sawyer, like he said that in his interview, he said, we still want beating and banging and rough racing. So hopefully that still happens. But yeah, about the tires very quickly, those did work, the option tire. And I think NASCAR, they need to take this tire to the rest of the short tracks this season and just strictly run the option tire. Like, yes, the strategy between the option tire and the standard tire was cool. It was interesting to see how that worked. Like Michael McDowell and Daniel Suarez both put them on in stage 2 and drove straight to the front of the field. I think Suarez restarted 16th or something like that. And McDowell literally restarted at the longest line after getting the free pass and drove, I think, inside the top 10 in stage 2. So I'm glad that these tires worked at Richmond because of the older and worn surface. hopefully they take these tires to other racetracks for the rest of the season. Hopefully. But yeah, Matthew, do you have any quick comments about the tires before we get and finish this video up?
Well, I do disagree with one thing you said about your concern about drivers not wanting to be aggressive now. Look, the drivers know what's normal racing to the finish and what's, completely out of bounds. You can bump somebody out of the way. That is fine. You can door slam each other. That's fine. You can go to the inside as hard as you can and you might make a little contact. That's fine. What's not fine is when you use your car as a missile basically from half a second back and just wipe the guy out and then proceed to right hook someone into the wall. I mean, look, these drivers know what's in line and what's, completely out of bounds. And we saw what was out of bounds this weekend. I mean, I'm trying the finish with Kyle Larson and Chris Buescher at Kansas earlier this year. They door slammed each other, but that wasn't considered, out of bounds. That's racing to the finish. So these drivers know what to do and what not to do. So it'll be fine.
Do you have any comments about the tires before we finish the video up?
Oh yeah, it was great. They need to use the option tire everywhere else. Martinsville, Phoenix, road courses. Of course, we were talking to Jordan Bianchi actually and Bob Hockris at the track on Saturday, and according to them, they think the option tire they should use it everywhere. So yeah, and of course, hearing from other drivers, they said why we're not using the red tire everywhere. So yeah, let's use the option tire everywhere else.
All right, and quickly, I do want to go over the playoff standings because the gap has shrunk, even with Austin Dillon's penalty being rescinded. So the cut line right now is Truex plus 78, Gibbs plus 18, Bubba plus 3, Buescher plus 0, Chastain minus 0. So the cut line very close over these next few races. It's going to be very exciting to see who makes the playoffs, who doesn't, based on that gap right there. And then also, we got to go over our paint scheme of the race as well, super quick. And I'm sorry, I'm going to be biased here. My favorite paint scheme is going to be Chase Elliott's Coca-Cola car. I know it's not the best Coca-Cola car we've ever seen, but I do like the red and the black and the white on it. So that is going to be my favorite paint scheme. I'm sorry, I'm biased. And I did get a lot of cool pictures of that car as well that you can see on my Instagram. But that is my favorite paint scheme. Matthew, what is your favorite paint scheme from Richmond?
I mean, the Coca-Cola car isn't bad. It just reminds me too much of the Hendrick 40th anniversary schemes. It just looks way too similar, especially when they made the number black. So yeah, it just reminds me too much of that. But as for my paint scheme race, I gotta go with Josh Berry's P&G red, white, and blue car that he ran. It was an amazing paint scheme, seeing that in person, and yeah.
And I do have a few other paint schemes that I did like that I wrote down just as a backup. So I liked Chris Buescher's Fastenal car with that blue crow number. That looked good. I liked Ryan Blaney's body armor car, and I also liked Daniel Hemrick's circle car. Can never go wrong with the circle car. And we actually got circle bottles that they were handing out at the circle experience out at the track. So that was cool too.
Which was great because it was absolutely hot there. Like, literally hot.
Yeah, the sun was out all day on Saturday and Sunday. We were baking, but it was worth it. It was a lot of fun. Matthew, do you have any other quick thoughts before we're going to finish this video up?
I don't think so. And like I said, just tune into our vlog. Hopefully that comes out soon. As soon as Jimmy's done finishing that. Yeah, I think that's it. You'll see the rest of our experience on the vlog. All the autographs that we got, like 30 plus autographs. So stay tuned.
Yeah, that vlog hopefully will be out by the end of the week. I actually tried something new with a GoPro, and I was able to get footage of the autographs like with my GoPro. So hopefully that'll be up later this week. Thank you guys very much for watching. I know that was a lot in one video. We tried our best to kind of condense it as best as we could with all the penalties and all that kind of stuff and the tires and everything. So definitely a very exciting race weekend from Richmond. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. The vlog will be our next video that comes out. But until the next time, we will see you guys in the next one.